Welcome in to Two Guys, One Pod, Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Porter, joined by my co-host, Justin. Justin, we missed you on the second episode of last week. Did you have a good trip?
Yeah. It was I almost got flooded to death. 3 tornado warnings. But when you're with the boys, good times will be had. So I survived. I have arrived. And now your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster is back with a vengeance.
Sounds good. Quick point of correction before we get into kind of a free agency signings, extensions, wrap up. I had very incorrectly said that I was ahead in our bet counter by 5 at the end of season. You reached out and said, "Hey, buddy, it was 4." So I am take Locky. I will die on every hill that I have an opinion on, but also very willing to admit when I'm factually incorrect. I was factually incorrect. I was only up 4 at the end of the season. So thank you for pointing that out to me. I'll own my mistakes. We can move forward, okay?
Sure.
Okay? Okay. Hey, let's move on. We're good and we can move on. Free agency. Outside of one particular signing, there wasn't anything that particularly caught my eye. We can discuss if you found any that caught your eye. Cooper Kupp signs 4 years, $45 million with the in-division rivals, the Seattle Seahawks. What does this signing mean for you?
Just mass hysteria, confusion. The tearing of garments and gnashing of teeth for JSN truthers and Cooper Kupp truthers alike. You have two guys of the same archetype, and JSN being, just kind of the same player, except for one's 10 years younger than the other one. So they still need to add some diversity of skill set to their room. So I don't really know how that's going to play out from a real football perspective. It should be good. I mean, if Clint Kubiak is going to use condensed splits, much like the Rams did with Cooper Kupp, where he had a ton of success, and use him in motion and just basically play to his strengths, it could be good. We know JSN is good. He is more than just a prototypical slot receiver, although he did have quite a bit of success there. I'd be more excited about this if Cooper Kupp went somewhere else. That would make me really happy. But here's the pie that we get. Hopefully, top end range of outcomes. We get the 2023 Adam Thielen style of first half breakout where he's a top 10 wide receiver. And if you have him on your team, you can try to sell him because you can talk yourself into this being really, really good, or you can talk somebody else into it. That's more important. You want to talk yourself into it. You're talking yourself into a corner. You're going to have to stay there and wear a dunce cap. So I would suggest going ahead, getting off of the Cooper Kupp train while you can, if he gets off to a hot start. That's me personally. That's what I'm hoping for. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I love the signing. I thought that they needed, obviously, another pass catcher there. MVS signed for $4 million and change, if I'm not mistaken. So they have kind of a downfield guy who was oddly productive on a per target basis. Not oddly, he was very productive on a per target basis during his time in New Orleans. And we didn't give that the credence that well, he didn't earn any credence because of his entire career. He didn't earn the credibility that may have been deserved with another player. But it's something we should remember was with Derek Carr, somebody who's willing to take downfield shots, like a Sam Darnold, and now he gets an offensive coordinator who wants to take downfield shots. So I think that there's an opportunity here. But it's I'm so wishy-washy. I want to take a really hard stance for my guy Sam Darnold, but with if he's got ghosts for an offensive line, it's and I had this conversation with Addison. It's with a bad offensive line, any pocket passer is going to look terrible. It's a fact of life. Yeah, true. Okay, minus the dude who almost single-handedly who would have been the unanimous MVP if his team had made the playoffs last year. He would have been the unanimous MVP. Aside from that guy, sure. The one of 31 other quarterbacks. Well, I guess not 31 because you got to take into account the rushing quarterbacks, but yeah, sure. Aside from that guy, nobody's overcoming a terrible offensive line. So if they draft an offensive line the first 3 rounds, an offensive lineman, excuse me, I'll be drafting Cooper Kupp. Probably Adam Thielen plus. I think it's a really good comp given the age and given the play style. Um, and people forget Adam Thielen was super productive. He holds the record for most 100-yard games with a touchdown. So most 100-yard games with a touchdown in a row. So it's I like that comp a lot. I think high end you are looking right around wide receiver 10 to 14. Love it for Jackson Smith-Njigba. It makes a defense respect a secondary wide receiver as long as the offensive line can hold up and protect Sam Darnold. But that was not the major signing of the weekend. We finally got our deal done for Jamar Chase, or the Cincinnati Bengals did, about a year and a half too late. Cost them probably what, $60 million more, $40 million more. They give him 4 years, $161 million. He's the highest paid non-QB in the National Football League. We knew it was going to happen. We knew that. Do what?
Ever.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the way inflation works. It's like
Yeah.
The next great quarterback to get a contract will be the highest quarterback contract ever. The next, I mean, I don't know who's up next as far as contracts go, but the next top 3 wide receiver to come up for a contract will be the highest paid non QB ever. But it was Jamar Chase's turn, and he got a massive contract. He deserves it. And I mean, with how little money they've spent on the defense and the offensive line, it's just going to be a reroll of last year. I'm going to have to walk back everything I said about Joe Burrow and how last year could be the peak of what he can do, because he's going to have to throw 58 touchdowns for this team to be competitive.
Get ready for my sweetness.
No,
Yeah, buddy.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. This is real good for fantasy. This is
Especially, we can go ahead and
outstanding.
kind of lump these two together because Tee Higgins also signed for 4 years, $115 million, which is an insane amount of money to spend on 3 players because Joe Burrow also has a $275 million contract. It's just, yeah, this offense is wild. They're gonna score 60 and still lose by a touchdown.
They did this as a package deal. Once T. Higgins switched over to Jamar Chase's agent, Jamar Chase's agent, who is now T. Higgins' agent, also as well too, said, "Hey, there is no deal with Jamar unless you get T's deal done," and that's how they did business. So here you go. You have over $500 million committed to your quarterback and his 2 favorite weapons. So yeah, I mean, we thought that their defense was bad. We had initially put in the show doc some notes about Lou Anarumo. The cupboard is essentially bare on defense, and I mean, we know that they're probably going to go defense with their first pick. Now, we were hoping that somebody would land from a fantasy perspective, but almost certainly they're going to go defense and be defense oriented for the foreseeable future. And here's the thing that no one's talking about. I mean, the cap went up $28 million from last year being 253 million, going up to between 277 and 281. If at any point the cap does not go up exponentially like it did from 2024 to 2025, these deals become completely untenable and it cripples your franchise. So you're betting on these deals being great. I mean, right now, Nico Collins' deal looks like a steal. AJ Brown's deal looks like a steal compared to these. So AJ Brown's making less money than Tee Higgins is. Actually, no. Per year, he's still making more, but he's got a 3-year, $96 million extension. I mean, as you can see, as we've discussed, T's got a 4-year, $115 million deal. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out from a roster construction perspective, because I mean, by waiting, I think that they've inadvertently slammed their Super Bowl window shut unless they nail every single one of their defensive draft picks from here uh, over the course of the next 2 to 3 years.
But for us who play fake football put on spreadsheets, this is gold. This is absolute gold. Like I don't know what Joe Burrow's ADP is on underdog. I would imagine it's around QB7, QB8, but I don't know how he falls beyond like QB3 on the season because in my mind it's Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, and then he might outproduce one of those guys just by necessity.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he's going at the 5-3. I'm looking at it on Draft Sharks now, and he's at the 5-3. So he's the fifth quarterback off the board, just behind Jalen Hurts, and 2 rounds ahead of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean I would take him over Hurts, I think. Um, if this were to stand, especially depending on that draft. I mean, if they're going to spend this kind of capital on and yeah, he's also QB5 on underdogs. So it's a I don't we spent enough time here. This was supposed to be kind of the preface of the show. The main body of the show is going to be reviewing new head coaches and offensive coordinators, but this was definitely worth bringing up. And I am just I can't imagine myself letting Joe Burrow slip in a draft, especially a draft where I take either Jamar Chase or Tee Higgins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna. I from a fantasy perspective, I'd probably be out. Just on I'm out on T, and I'd probably be out on Joe Burrow as well. Just yeah.
Just in
So
the fifth, like what would that draft cost have to? Last follow up, then we can get to our first head coaching change. But what would that draft cost have to be for you to be in? Is it a back of the fifth? Is it top of the sixth?
he'd have to be closer to where Mahomes is going right now.
Okay, so
Like,
right now I've got. Oh, really? So Mahomes' average ADP on underdogs is 77 overall. So 20 some odd spots, 25 some odd spots behind where he's going right now is what you're saying.
yes, I'm looking at the ADP for underdog for best ball, like underdog right now on Draft Sharks, and in that same range. So where Mahomes is going, well, it's a really weird spot for quarterbacks. So you're talking about Mahomes being there. I if Burrow was going in that same range, like I would just wait and pick Bo Nix, or wait even later and pick Caleb Williams, or wait 4 rounds later and pick Jared Goff. Like I can't. You're buying at you're buying at the ceiling, and I don't like doing that. So while I
QB
do believe it's going to
QB5,
be
he's top.
awesome,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, while I do believe it's going to be awesome if he stays healthy and plays 17 games and their defense stinks as bad as I think it will, I don't think that this is something that would be you could get similar value 3 rounds later.
Well, I mean, for reference, he's being drafted at QB5, and that's I guess you could make the argument cross positionally that you aren't getting value there. But we've seen it 2 different years where he has outproduced QB5. So I mean, it's QB4 and QB3, so a little bit tongue in cheek there, but he has outproduced it. So I think there's still some icing on the cake here with Joe Burrow. I would be in. I would be in at that draft cost, but we can move on. Head coaching changes. Let's get into them. The headline coaching change, we've talked about it ad nauseum. Everyone's talked about it ad nauseum. Ben Johnson being signed away from being the OC at Detroit. He goes to Chicago. He has all the weapons. He has Rome Odunze. They re-signed Keenan Allen. They have DJ Moore. They've got Caleb Williams on a rookie contract. They signed 3 new offensive linemen, sign and trade for combination. 3 new offensive linemen. What does success look like this year for Ben Johnson?
I mean, it looks like being able to as closely approximate what the success that he had in Detroit in a landscape that's never had a quarterback play to the level that he inspired out of Jared Goff. I mean, Their defense is better than people give it credit for. I mean, what people don't talk about is how good Detroit's running game and how that propelled them forward. And if you're able to take pressure off of a guy like Caleb Williams and give him one-on-one and heavy boxes and light one-on-ones, this is a boom for DJ Moore. This is a boom for Rome Odunze. And I think that is what it would look like to me. Being able to approximate some of the success, like this going from whatever the unit was with Shane Waldron under the helm. He's just such a bad coach. I almost called him Shane Steichen, but he is so much worse than Shane Steichen. So Shane Waldron being a bottom five unit, they're going to be on a lot of people's minds as a top 10 offense right now. I mean, Rome Odunze is at wide receiver 18. DJ Moore is in that same range, around like between 12 and 15. So I think that they can outperform both of those marks if he's able to bring that over. And I think that he will be able to, because he's a guy that knows how to organize an offense and call plays. And that's shown itself from the second half of 2022 up until they scored 30 points in the playoff game and lost because they gave up 40. So I think that the success looks like them being a top 10 unit, and I fully expect that, especially with the additions they made in the offensive line.
Agree. Just to put some numbers to that, last year the Lions were second in yards per game, first in scoring touchdowns, second in passing yards, third in plays of 20 yards or more, fifth in plays of 40 yards or more. So his explosive plays are there, his consistent plays are there with his yards per game, and obviously they put up a whole bunch of points, so much so where they were getting lineman touchdowns, multiple lineman touchdowns, which is it was fun to watch last year, and hopefully it'll be fun to watch this year. Possibly a little less fun of a signing, Brian Schottenheimer, former OC for Dallas, signs as the head coach in Dallas. Continuity might be the best friend of this offense, but they let Rigo Dowdle go, their 1,000-yard rusher. What are the feelings about Brian Schottenheimer? Never had a top half of the league offense as an OC, never been a head coach.
Well, I got pushed back on that one because he was the OC in 2023 when Dak went for 4,536. So that was him.
Wait,
It
hold on,
was.
hold on. What? But he did not have play calling duties, correct? Because that was McCarthy.
I think that
Because
McCarthy. So regardless, he was in the building. He was the offensive coordinator for that. So we have to give it some sort of credence because that's on his resume, right? It's there. Whether it was Big Mike, whether it was, you know, I'm trying to paint a rose-colored picture of why this isn't going to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL. That right now is where my mind tends to lean. I mean, you have a bona fide top 3 wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb from a fantasy perspective. You have Dak Prescott, who has shown you that he will chuck it all over the yard and he will hyper target CeeDee Lamb. However, if you look at some of Brian Schottenheimer's offenses, they usually get off to really fast starts, and then over the back half of the season, you cannot find they just don't adjust. I mean, I wrote an article about the historical prowess of Brian Schottenheimer. That's on our Fantasy Sports Advice Network content channel. I forget. Forgive me, guys. Words are hard sometimes. But yeah, that article is available on the website. So check that out. The meaning of Brian Schottenheimer's hire in Dallas. So I'm not really confident. I mean, they have several questions on the offensive line with Zach Martin retiring, with the young guys. I mean, Terrence Steele didn't have his best year. And, you're really looking at their draft pick last year, Tyler Guyton. You're looking at Tyler Smith and Cooper Beebe to step up on that offensive line. They hired Clayton Adams. And Schottenheimer's going to call the play, so Clayton Adams is going to be in charge of the offensive line. But they've got to get guys in, and I think that it's going to be, it's more about the Jimmies and Joes and the X's and O's there, and they need help badly.
Yeah, they might need help with the X's and O's as well. Just again to add some color to the pictures, we like to say last year on 637 passing attempts, CeeDee Lamb paced for 172 targets. Remember, he missed the last 2 games of the season, so that is equal to a 27% target share. His wide receiver one overall season, he was at 181 targets on 614 total pass attempts with Dak, which was 29% target share. So when you take into account that he played the majority of the season with Cooper Rush under center and a smattering of Trey Lance here and there, not very often. Like it was not nice to see, but it's like the offense still centered around CD in the passing game. For fake football played on spreadsheets, this is this doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. Like I'm not a Dallas fan. I could care less where they win or lose these games. Like I want CD to get the ball. I want a centralized running game. The signing of Javonte Williams almost it makes me think they're taking Ashton Genty at their first pick overall. So I don't like if the entire offensive production is whittled down to Ashton Genty and CeeDee Lamb, this will be a productive offense, and I'm fine with that. I don't, it might not be great for the NFL, but I think this will be good for fantasy.
I hope so, because if it's not, like we've got to go through a whole, some sort of demented cycle of Cowboys fans talking about how this is going to be their year again in 2026, and I don't. That's not what anybody needs, honestly. Well, it's like that crazy cousin. Like you're like, yeah, Carl. Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah, you're trapping pigeons in your basement, huh? Cool, cool. That's what it's like listening to Cowboys fans try to talk themselves into it being their year every single year. And like I'm a reformed Cowboys fan, and I was like, no, we're gonna suck until Jerry Jones dies or sells the team. He's never gonna do that because it's the most valuable franchise on the face of the planet. So yeah, good luck, guys. I guess. Let's move on.
So, well, yeah, okay, we can move on. This is a much more interesting hire. Liam Cohen goes to Jacksonville Jaguars. Prior
Duval.
Duval. We have to get that sounder in here. Offensive coordinator at
Duval.
Tampa Bay last year had a fantastic season. The offense did last year in Tampa Bay. 23.3% of his target share went to his wide receiver one, Mike Evans. 24.3% of the target share went to Brian Thomas Jr. last year under Doug Peterson. Important to remember that Mac Jones finished off that season. Trevor Lawrence did not complete it. And this is a more important point to me, and I think this has more questions because I think we're all in alignment. Brian Thomas Jr. confirmed awesome, confirmed good at football. We're all drafting him. What, top 10? Pretty easily top 10, and you can make an argument for top 6 ish, depending on how high you are on him in redraft. But 790 receiving yards were split between Bucky and Rachaad White last year. Do you think that translates to Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby this year?
Yeah, I mean Travis Etienne has been one of my sneakiest sneaky buys throughout the offseason. I mean, he had his 5th year option exercised. So we're gonna see him either thrive in this offense or we can just kind of punt and then wait for him to get another contract. I mean, we've seen him operate in a workhorse role. We know that Liam Cohen likes to deploy his running backs almost in a platoon type of system. Bucky Irving and Rachaad White split snaps, smack down the middle. And I think Bucky Irving's season high in snap share was about 65%. So if one of these guys emerges as the leader, even still, there's going to be room in Liam Cohen's scheme for the other guy to eat. I would bet on it being Travis Etienne. But what I saw last year gives me tremendous cause for pause because Tank Bigsby looked like the better back throughout the season last year. So do we trust? Do we trust that Travis Etienne is more akin to what he was in 2022 and 2023? Or is Tank Bigsby just going to run roughshod and take over this backfield completely? I'm landing more on the ETN side, but Bigsby's a much cheaper option that you can get. And if he hits, it's undoubtedly a grand slam. So I lean towards Travis Etienne. I think that the value is obviously on the Bigsby side. So all that to say, I'm in on this Jaguars backfield as a whole. I've just been making more bets on Travis Etienne than I have Tank Bigsby.
And Tank Bigsby had a couple of just awesomely efficient games last year. Uh, I'm counting here 4 games here at above 4.5 yards a carry. He finished the year at 4.53 a carry, scored 7 touchdowns on the ground. Pretty just useless in the passing game, or unused in the passing game might be a better term. But he is. The situation just mirrors it too much, in my opinion. You have this back who can handle the workload, who's maybe a little bit inefficient on the ground in Travis Etienne, and you have this young back that is primarily on the ground, but does have some pass catching chops coming out of college, a little bit of coming out of college, and he hasn't been used like that so far. So I'm just wondering if that's like it seems to be it's going to be a poor man's Tampa Bay from last year, in my opinion, but. This is Man, after how badly Travis Etienne burned fantasy managers last year, uh, I think most are going to be very reticent to get back on that train.
Yeah, I think that that's creating a pocket of value for both guys. I mean, I don't think that what Liam Cohen put on film for the Bucks last year, fixing that running game. I mean, Dave Canales committed to the run, and Liam Cohen committed to making the run great again. So I would say that there's some value to be had here more than anything. So
Well,
you could look back
there
at
is
this
not
and
nearly as. Sorry, go ahead.
one of these guys is going to emerge. It's just, I mean, the safer thing to do is make a bet much later in your best ball drafts on Tank Bigsby. It's hard for me to deny how good Travis Etienne's been with volume.
What do you did you look at the discrepancy in their ADPs on Underdog?
That's an easy fix.
No. I don't want you to. I want you to guess. Just positionally, what do you think Travis Etienne is being drafted at?
RB, I want to say RB like 28,
Okay, and Tank Bigsby.
probably around like RB 44.
Okay, that gap is much smaller. Travis Etienne is currently at RB 32, and Tank Bigsby is at RB 38. That's
So it's
overall
only a two
ADP.
round difference. Yeah.
Yeah, 102 to 123, only 2 rounds. I'm kind of shocked that Travis Etienne, as a starting running back, is falling at 32. At 32, I would take Travis Etienne all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. I had assumed he would be closer to what you were saying, 24 to 28, given how well that running scheme worked for both running backs in Tampa Bay last year.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we elude these things, we point these things out so that you guys can gain advantages in your best ball drafts, in your home leagues. That is why, we're telling you these things now. It's like, hey, remember. Hey Jeff, once you listen to this, I want you to write that down too. Remember how good Liam Cohen made the Tampa Bay running game in 2024. That's going to translate because the Tampa Bay running game was so broken, and all they did was add Graham Barton and Liam Cohen, and all of a sudden they're averaging 146 and a half yards per game. So yeah, we can move on though.
Uh, Pete Carroll is picked up as the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Last year, he was pretty much unemployed. He enjoyed a year of retirement, and then he missed the game too much. So he came back to the AFC West, which has quickly become, in my eyes, a pretty competitive division. With Pete Carroll coming in, with them getting Geno Smith, a pretty solid receiving core. They swap running backs with the Dolphins, signing Raheem Mostert and letting go of who am I not thinking of? Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison goes
Yeah.
and signs with the Dolphins as well last week. So Pete Carroll, he wins at everywhere he's been. He wins. I mean, he has a Super Bowl win with Seattle. This is I think this is gonna be the opposite of what I care about. I think this is gonna be good things for real life NFL Raiders. I think this is gonna be really good for Brock Bowers. But as far as like probably stability for Geno Smith, stability for Jacoby Myers, and I think they're a prime candidate to draft running back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is if they are to draft a running back, which almost certainly appears that they are like that's what they're gonna do. I mean, picking up Raheem Mostert for 1 year and $2.1 million doesn't move the needle for me in terms of their overall or overarching need at running back. So they're gonna take a running back. Is it one of the Ohio State guys? Is it Ashton Genty at 6? We don't know yet. It would make a lot more sense to maybe hoard some value and shore up a position of need rather than draft Genty at 6. But if you believe Genty's generational, ooh, generational Genty, that has a ring to it.
Mm. What about generational?
Generational,
That sounds
generational.
that sounds too close to interracial. That's my bad.
I mean, hey, we're workshopping it. It's happening. Something's happening. We got
Sometimes you just
something.
gotta stay in the
We just
flow, and I was swimming against the flow with that one. That's on me. That's on me.
it's
I'll
hey,
be
hey,
better
hey,
in the
hey,
future.
hey, hey. We appreciate the effort, and that's what matters. So, Genty, we don't know. Like, we don't know if they're gonna draft. We don't know if they're gonna draft at 6. We know they're taking a running back. It's just what that capital is. And spoiler alert, we're going to talk about this later. That is one of the most premium landing spots for a running back in the entire NFL.
Mm. Mm. Love it. Love it. Anything else? Do you like how this affects any of the receiving options, or is it just, yeah, this is not a net negative?
It's not a net negative by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, Chip Kelly's offense hyper targeted the primary receiver, whether it was Jordan Matthews, Deshaun Jackson, or Jeremy Maclin previously. So really hoping that they can kind of get that situated. If it's Jacoby Myers is going to be an incredible value, but I don't know that they're going to let that stand with him as the primary receiver and Brock Bowers also being an omega level talent at the tight end position.
Why does no one believe in Jacoby Myers? He's awesome. Just give him the ball. Sorry, that
Yeah,
was
contextually, yeah, he is really, 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 really good, and he's always going to be valuable because he's disrespected. I want to keep it that way. So let's just keep it like we want to get.
It's,
Hey, I want to send a couple thirds off for Jacoby Myers. Maybe close to the draft season, we're gonna get that done.
yeah, watch them draft some wide receiver in the fourth round, and then that's gonna be the prime time to all this hype stuff is gonna come out from camp about he's gonna challenge Jacoby Myers to the wide receiver one spot. No, he's not. But yeah, make those low offers for Jacoby Myers. They'll be worth it in the regular season. Mike Vrabel. We mentioned it whenever he was first announced as the head coach for the New England Patriots. Prior to this season, he was consulting for the Browns. Oh yeah, he was basically unemployed, just doing some charity work there up in Cleveland. But we know his resume. We know his time in Tennessee. You know his time in Tennessee better than most. What are you expecting from this hire?
I expect him to set a culture. I don't know that this turns into something immediately. I know that this means that Ramondre Stevenson's NFL career as a New England Patriot is now on the clock. One thing Braves will not tolerate is people putting the ball on the turf. He's got two ball carriers that are notorious for doing so. So this has become a sneaky good spot for me to find some value in a running back room. In my notes, I said that this could be a boom for the slot receiver and pass catchers because of his choice at offensive coordinator, and we'll get to that here shortly. But I'm thrilled because I think that this provides a structure to a guy like Drake May who has all the intangibles he had and all the tangibles too. I mean, he's everything that you want in a franchise quarterback. So I think that this could be a match made in heaven from a pairing perspective. and bringing stability back to that franchise who does have their long-term answer as a franchise QB in my opinion. So I expect it to go well, and but they still do have some work to do on their offensive line and with their pass catching group.
Yes, that's just it is what I wanted to say, but said better than I could say it. Well done. I think that Vrabel is going to be a great head coach, and I think that the next 3 to 5 years for the Pats are now trending up. And pairing him with a quarterback who showed promise last year, it's a really good match. Now we just need to get him some receiving options, and like you say, running backs that don't put the ball on the ground. But I'm going to move on. Are you?
Yep.
Kellen Moore, he signs as the head coach in New Orleans. Prior, the OC at Philadelphia, the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles fly, Eagles fly. I am super keyed up about Alvin Kamara, or because of this signing. If there's one thing that we know about Kellen Moore, it's that he is going to utilize his best pass catching option. The breakout season for CeeDee Lamb, not his wide receiver one season, his breakout season was with Kellen Moore as the OC. Keenan Allen had his best yards per game and his best touchdown efficiency with Kellen Moore, especially after Austin Eckler went down. And then we get Kellen Moore in Philadelphia, and he says, "Hey, I've got Saquon Barkley and the best offensive line in football. I think I'm just going to give it to Saquon Barkley. Let me see here, 300 and whatever it was, 68 times. Like, he knows he doesn't big brain it. He says, these are my best options. I'm just going to get them the ball and see what happens. And right now in New Orleans, the best offensive option is Alvin Kamara, who they just extended for another 2 years, and I think $21 million, if I'm not mistaken. Like just another some more numbers. Last year, Saquon averaged 24.3 opportunities per game. Alvin Kamara averaged 22.6 opportunities per game. I think in a Kellen Moore offense is going to utilize their best option. I am keyed up. I am super keyed up for Alvin Kamara.
I
Currently
I tend
RB18 in underdog drafts.
Well, we've reached the Mike Evans career arc for Alvin Kamara because he's been good for so long that we start to fade him. I mean, you remember what the talk was last year. He's lost his explosive ability. He's not a guy that's ever rushed for 1,000 yards. And all he did was go out and be, RB5 through 14 weeks before he pulled his groin. So the only thing that's going to stop Alvin Kamara from being a dominant fantasy option again is the injury bug. So, and we've seen, as you alluded to before, we've seen Kellen Moore be willing to hyper target and hyper activate, for lack of a better term, the best options in the offense. Breakout year for CD, breakout career year for Keenan. Record as Saquon becomes the ninth running back in history to rush for 2,000 yards because he has the best offensive line and he is the guy at the end of the line. Wink, wink. So I think that this could be really, really good if that offensive line there can stay healthy and they can fill in some of the gaps that they have. I know they've struggled. They struggled mightily with injury, like almost like on a plague level. So if that just regresses to the mean a little bit, they can get guys. They can get guys to stay healthy. This was an offense that scored the third most points through 2 games in NFL history with 91 points in their first 2 games. So there's firepower there. You've got Rashid Shaheed. You've got Chris Olave, T's and P's. Hopefully he's fully recovered and good to go for the 2025 season. So yeah, I'm with you in that I am excited. I mean, we've seen them make a few moves that make it seem like they're not just going completely into the tank. They gave Jawan Johnson an extension. They got Alvin Kamara's extension done early. We're in a little bit of limbo with Derek Carr's contract, but we could be in a better spot than people are giving it credit for. Nobody wanted this job. So if Kellen Moore could come in and make chicken salad out of chicken shish kebab for the children, we might have something here.
And just some points to point out here. The last 3 years have been under Dennis Allen. those years have been marred by inefficiencies offensively. And Alvin Kamara, for how many touches he's gotten, has been pretty inefficient scoring touchdowns 2, 5, 6 on the ground, and 2, 1, and 2 through the air. Like he put up in full point PPR, he put up RB9, scoring 8 touchdowns. Like that's really hard to do. And also in the last 4 years, he just put up his most efficient year on the ground last year. So I don't know. And also last year, he put up his most rushing yards ever in his career. So I think the construct, the idea, the whisperings that he should be falling off because he's 29, he should be falling off because it's his 8th year in the league, yada yada yada. I think you're right. It's creating a serious value pocket, or a pocket of value, however you phrased that earlier, for Alvin Kamara moving into 2025 this year.
Yep, you hit it on the seams, brother.
And with that, we have gone through our head coaching changes. We are at time. We will review our offensive coordinator changes in our next episode. Thank you very much for listening, liking, downloading, subscribing, rating, reviewing, all the fun stuff. We really enjoy it. It helps us. Please follow us on socials. We are 2guys1pod FF on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, X, formerly known as Twitter, and on FSAN, the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Justin is Chev90 and I am Brick316. See us over there. Yeah. Thank y'all for listening. Have a great night.
I'd like to leave you with this closing thought. You never ask a man if he's ticklish, just like you never ask a woman if she's pregnant. Have a great night, everybody.